3 autumns quiet fire. The small Irish town lay draped in shades of amber and copper, the air carrying the crisp scent of rain-soaked earth and burning peat. Leaves swirled across the narrow cobblestone streets, whispering against the boots of those who hurried home before the evening mist rolled in from the hills. In the old stone hospital, the windows rattled with the wind, and the corridors smelled faintly of antiseptic and strong tea. Nurse Claire Murphy moved through the dimly lit ward with her usual quiet efficiency, her auburn hair escaping in soft curls from beneath her cap. It was late in the evening when Dr. Patrick Byrne stepped into the hallway, a file in his hand. He was tall, with an angular face that seemed carved from the same grey stone as the church on the hill, and eyes that held more caution than warmth. Patrick was known for his skill, his sharp mind, and his guarded heart. "Claire," he said softly, "could you stay a little longer tonight? There's a patient who needs careful monitoring." She nodded without hesitation. She had been working with Patrick for almost a year, and in that time she had learned 2 things. He rarely smiled, and he rarely let anyone in. Yet, there was something in the way his gaze lingered on her now, as though he was standing on the edge of saying more. The hours passed in quiet work, the world outside disappearing into a curtain of rain. Somewhere between checking pulses and changing dressings, their hands brushed, a fleeting contact that sent an unexpected warmth through the cool, clinical air. Neither of them spoke about it. But when Claire left the hospital that night, the rain clinging to her coat, she felt the first flicker of something dangerous, something unspoken. And Patrick, watching her from the doorway, felt it too, though he would never admit it. Not yet. By late October, the wind carried the sharp bite of winter, and the hospital seemed even quieter after dark. Most of the staff hurried home as soon as their shifts ended, but Claire often stayed late, helping Patrick with the more delicate cases. One evening, the rain was relentless, drumming against the high windows like 100 restless fingers. The power flickered once, twice, before settling into a steady glow. Patrick leaned over a desk cluttered with charts, his shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows. Claire entered with a tray of tea, her eyes drawn to the way the lamplight softened his usually severe features. "You'll wear yourself out," as she murmured, setting the cups down. "I could say the same for you," he replied, but there was no reproach in his tone, only a kind of quiet gratitude. They worked side by side for hours, the only sounds the shuffle of papers and the rain outside. At some point, Patrick paused, his gaze lingering on her. "Claire, do you ever think about something more? Beyond these walls?" Her heart quickened. "I used to," she said, a faint smile touching her lips. "But lately, I feel as if I live here." Something shifted then, subtle, but undeniable. His hand reached for hers across the desk, his fingers hesitating before curling around her own. The first time they kissed was not in the romantic glow of moonlight, but in the dim supply room between 2 shelves of bandages and medicine bottles. It was sudden, almost desperate, the release of weeks of quiet tension. Afterward, neither spoke of what it meant. But the way Patrick's hand lingered on the small of her back as they walked down the corridor told her it was not just a passing moment. Outside, the wind howled through the streets, scattering the last of the golden leaves. Inside, something had begun that neither of them could easily stop. The golden hues of autumn began to fade, replaced by colder, greyer skies. Claire could feel the change in Patrick too, a distance creeping into his eyes, like a shutter closing slowly on something fragile. One rainy afternoon, after a long shift, Claire waited for him outside the hospital, hoping for a moment together. When Patrick finally appeared, his expression was guarded, his usual calm replaced by tension. "I don't think this can go on," he said quietly, avoiding her gaze. Claire's heart sank. "Why?" "We're good together." He shook his head, voice barely above a whisper. I'm not made for this. For love. For what you want. My career, my reputation. I can't risk it. Tears pricked at her eyes, but she nodded, understanding the walls he had built so carefully around himself. They parted that day, not with anger, but with a sorrow that hung heavier than the Irish rain. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog. Claire moved through her routines, the hospital's sterile walls closing in tighter with each passing hour. Nights were the hardest, when silence filled the rooms where his voice once lingered. Yet, amid the ache, life insisted on moving forward. Friends encouraged her to step outside the small town's boundaries, to find moments of light in the deepening autumn.